Welcome to the When Wit Happens podcast. This is a podcast that helps you find ways to celebrate and live your best life, even when stuff happens. Now here's your host, Whitney West.
Why, hello. Welcome back to season 4 of When Wit Happens. We're just coming back off of our fall-ish break and hopping back in to give you episodes for the next 3-ish months. So, in season 4, I'm dedicating this season to storytelling. And that could be in several different forms. I'll be telling you different stories and we'll just be having conversations about different things that I'm going through or different issues in the chronic illness community. In the last few months, since I talked to you, well, I guess it's been like a month and a half. It seems like so much has happened, but so little at the same time. Like, we have been in 2020 for a very long time and a very short time at the exact same time. So, it's kind of a struggle. But 2020 is an odd year because there are some very, very low lows, but there are some very high highs. And I will say having a chronic illness through low lows and high highs has been trash. Basically, because life is so unfair, especially when you have a very rare chronic illness like I do. My chronic illness is fibrosing mediastinitis, in case I haven't mentioned it. And recently I was connected with a young girl, black girl, who has was just diagnosed with the illness as well. And just thinking about what I can do to be of help to her and make sure that I'm putting information out there that will be helpful to future people who have to deal with this crazy ass illness, especially getting that diagnosis during a time like 2020 when we have a global pandemic going on and you're in the hospital and not even able to show the love and affection with your family and other people that you need when you're in the hospital. And so many other people have been in the hospital for other reasons and aren't able to have family or friends or anybody just come see you. And being in the hospital is one of the most daunting, challenging times. It's probably the most emotionally wrecked and broken down that I think I've ever been, just kind of quickly thinking back. And to be in a year where you're almost afraid to go to a hospital, it's kind of weird, especially when you have a chronic illness and that you probably should get the weird shit happening in your body checked out, but you don't really want to go down to the hospital. And I feel like that's where I am. And I am going to my doctor's appointments and things like that. But any kind of extensive testing, I'm leery of. And I have, in the last month, had a couple of flares. And when you have a rare illness, you sometimes you don't know if it's a flare or if it's just a weird thing about the illness that's normal. And since mine is pulmonary related, I would have to go to my pulmonologist who is booked and busy in a non-COVID year. And I'm sure I'm going to have to do my pulmonary function test. And I don't want to breathe into the machines that them people with coronavirus have breathed into. Although I know they're probably not probably, they are sterilized. But it's just something about that gives me anxiety to think about doing it. So I don't want to. But I do want to go get some more scans just to be sure. I know what caused my flares. One was overworking myself. So if I don't know if I announced, but if I did not announce, I am in graduate school and I'm getting my doctorate. And coming up on them first papers, baby, where I had to learn APA 7, which just came out at the end of 2019, and there are changes and just the weird stuff about APA. And then I have two professors who are very different in their approach and things. And so creating sufficient papers for both of them has been interesting. So I was stressing myself out and putting my body through a lot. Baby, the days are long gone of your girl being able to do all nighters. What we won't do is all nighters ever again. Basically, I will only be doing things to my bedtime. So I've set a very strict schedule because the Lord had to send a whole fake hurricane through here for me to get the rest I needed after that. I literally had to lay down. That day that we were supposed to have a hurricane through here, the second time, I really had to just lay in bed all day. So thank the Lord Jesus that He decided to swerve it to the east or whatever He did to it, because I couldn't even. I don't know how I would have evacuated because my body literally needed the rest. And then the next time something spilled in my car, and there was a box. I've been doing Sam's pickup, and there was a box in there, and it had started to mold. And although I had my mask on, I'm sure I inhaled some of it because, like, the next day, my lungs were like, "What we won't do is help you out today." And here we go into the second episode, and I had to rest again, like back to back. So I do want to just make sure I'm all good and all set. And it's just been rough thinking about I don't want to go to the doctor. I don't want to go to the emergency room. I don't want to go to urgent care because of everything else going on in the world. And it's like life is really unfair when you have to have these thoughts and considerations when your life is already at risk, that you have to go put your life at risk to check out what's putting your life at risk. So these are the types of things I just kind of want to talk to you all about this season. Stuff that's happening, stories from not just me, stories from other people about what it's really like out here in these streets for a mid 30-year old, a mid 30-year old with a chronic illness, a mid 30-year old with a chronic illness down to grad school, y'all, and working a full time job and running a business. Doing this podcast, I guess that's all part of the business, but I'm doing a lot, y'all. And I'm really having to take the time to reassess what I'm doing for myself, as well as what I truly do have time for and what's important and what's not important. Right now, the most important thing for me is rest, because if I don't rest, I cannot go to work. I cannot go to class. I cannot run this business. I cannot be. So I have implemented like a strict bedtime. I'm waking up early and working out. I'm making sure I eat well. It was a struggle, baby. We're gonna talk about that another time. But it has been a struggle. Um, your girl is a little bit addicted to desserts. And it's because of my chronic illness. It sucks. Life really is. It's just unfair. But I appreciate you all sticking with your girl. And we're going to get this season popping. And if there are any stories you want, anything particular that you want to hear about as when it comes to me, let me know. You know how to hit me up on social media. Talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to When Whit Happens. You can find Whitney living her best life at thewhitneywest.com and at The Whitney West on social media. Subscribe and follow for updates. Until next time, keep living your best life.